We are going to be working with JavaScript this week. This is our very last lesson, and this is going to be an introduction to JavaScript. Just kind of give you a little taste of some of the different things that you can do. So you're going to want to read through the pages in the book and then go through the lecture demo. As you go through the lecture demo, I do try to include some interactive elements that you guys can kind of play with. And once you're done reading through this, you can kind of watch these videos at the top that actually show you how to create variables in VS Code, how to display variables on your page, video that goes through some of the interactive JavaScript coding examples and explains what's going on. If you have never coded before, I highly recommend that you watch the videos after you kind of read through the lecture demo, because I think they will help you. Then you will work on the textbook assignment. This is set up very similar to the other assignments. It is directive. There are videos for every single task. There are files that you download, and then there are files that you may have to create. And you will be incorporating JavaScript code into your pages. And so you will add to your regular page using a script tag. You will also learn how to add an external script and link that into your page. So these different tasks kind of give you an idea of different things that you can do in JavaScript. So you'll do a couple JavaScript exercises, and then I did feel that you needed to review Flexbox, Grid View, and CSS Grid. So there's a couple review exercises. You're going to download a zipped folder. That zip folder is going to have basically all of the graphics that you need. And you'll notice that there are 3 different pages. And let me see if I can show them to you. These pages all initially are going to look the same. Okay, and you are going to be adding the code for the grid view, CSS grid, and Flexbox. So you will be making these pages responsive. I don't know if they're opening properly here, but you're going to be making them responsive using the different layouts that we learned about. So initially, all of them are going to look like this. Okay, and then in each one, they're all named different. In the CSS grid one, you're going to be adding CSS grid code. Okay, in the one that's labeled Flexbox, you're going to be adding Flexbox code. So initially, all of them look like this. And then you are going to go through and follow the directions for adding the different types of CSS. So you'll start with Flexbox, and you'll be adding the Flexbox CSS. Then you're going to open Grid View, and you're going to add the Grid View CSS. And then finally, you're going to do CSS Grid, and you'll be adding the CSS for that. So hopefully, this little review will help you kind of get in your heads the differences between those 3 different flexible formats. Okay, and once you finish with that, then we're back to JavaScript. So task 7 involves modifying CSS using an external JavaScript file. Okay, so this one, you're going to create an external file. And that particular file is going to be called modify styles. And in that file, you're going to have a function that you are calling. To connect this external file with your interactive page, you are going to have to pull in the file using a script tag. Okay, so make sure you kind of walk through these different steps, and then you really shouldn't have a problem, hopefully, getting everything to work. Last little section here, you are going to create a push navigation menu, and then you're going to convert it into an overlay menu. So here is the code, and then I've also got it in a PDF here for you. And so this is basically what your push code looks like. Once you get that working, you'll save it under a different name. And then you'll modify that code so it becomes an overlay instead of a push. And I can show you what that looks like. Let me see. We'll open these just to give you a little idea of what those should look like. Okay, so at this point, they kind of look the same, right? But the overlay goes on top and the push kind of shoves everything over. So they are different. Now, what happens if you code your assignment and things don't work? That is very common, especially when you're learning JavaScript, because it's not very forgiving of any kind of typos. So I'm going to show you how to do a little troubleshooting. So this little introduction page is one that you're going to create. This is how it should work. Okay, and I've got one with a problem in it. Okay, so kind of looks like it's going to be the same. But you can see that it didn't finish. Okay, so this one did, and this one did not finish. So anytime your page does not do what you think that it should, okay, then that typically means there's an error. So you need to open the developer panel. So you're going to press F12 on the keyboard, and you may need to press FN if you have a laptop while pressing F12. And the console will tell you what the error is. And so here it says, I have an issue on line 19. And the issue is NAM is not defined. So let me click the link. This is the line with the problem. And you can see that it did give me my heading up here, went through the script, and then when it's supposed to write out my name, that is where it had the problem. So name is a variable. And you can see that I misspelled it. It's missing the E. That is why it's not working. Okay, so it is a reference error. So once I fix that typo and reload the page, it should work just fine. And I will tell you most of the errors are typos. Okay, that is primarily what the biggest mistake that people make. So it's just a matter of opening up this developer panel and looking at the error and actually clicking on the link, because that will take you to the line. If you can't figure out what the problem is, just throw me an email. Make sure you have transferred your page, because I'm going to need to go look at it and I'm going to end up going into the developer panel. So I won't be able to tell you what the problem is if I can't see your page. So that's really the only issue that I think you may have with the assignment. Once you finish the assignment, there is no lab assignment this week because we are going to be working on our final project. So once you finish the textbook assignment, you can do the exam. And the exam is not due for 2 weeks. It is set up the same as the other exam, so you can take it up to 3 times. It is open book, open note. And when you submit it, you'll know if you got a question right or wrong, but you are not going to see the right answers until the test has been closed on August 2nd. Okay, and that's because you're allowed to retake it. There are 47 questions, 38 are randomly retrieved. 9 are the same on every single test. So what that means is if you retake this test, those 38 questions will probably be different every time you take it. But you will also see the same 9 every time. Once you finish that, you can create a Certiport account, and you are going to need this in order to take your certification exam, which is your final. If you do not have an account, you just click on the link and you'll have to register. You'll have to choose a username and a password, give Certiport your contact information. Do not purchase a voucher. We have those for you. You already have a voucher for the test. Do not purchase it. Just create an account. Once you create that account, then you'll be logged in and you can do a screenshot. Now, if you already have an account, then you can just go ahead and log in, enter your username and password, hit login, and do a screenshot. You can then upload your screenshot here and I will give you points. The purpose of doing this is so that you know what your username and password are. Because when you go to the testing center, the test administrator does not know what your username and password are. You actually have to enter that for the testing administrator. So it is important that you guys know it. Then finally, the last thing that you're going to do is work on your final project. The final project can be based on your responsive design lab assignment. So you can use that as a basis for your final project, or you can do something completely different. Totally up to you. The instructions have a video and they pretty much go through everything that you need to include in this final project. And as you read through here, you'll notice that a lot of these requirements were in the lab assignment for the responsive page, which is why I'm allowing you guys to use that as a basis for this project. Once you are done, and this is not due for 2 weeks, once you're done, you should look at the checklist because that is what I use for scoring. In fact, you may want to print this out and then just go through all of these requirements and kind of check them off and make sure that you have them in your project because that way you will get all of the points. So that is what we are working on this week. If you run into problems or if you have any questions at all, let me know and have a great week.